I'm coming to that because
if you absolve the ODM party leader from the question, then it becomes very difficult to have. Objectively, because it's part of the wholesale political failure as to why the country is here. Conglomeration of Rigathi Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, and Kalonzo Musyoka, to which the Deputy President, Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki, yesterday responded, saying, "Don't threaten us with one-term presidency." I saw some guys yesterday, he meant on Monday, saying how their singular motivation is to make William Ruto a one-term president. And then, how can you be motivated as a leader to remove someone from office? President Ruto, by the grace of God, is among the 5 Kenyans who have been privileged to occupy the highest office in the land.
Who get the houses. The Honorable Alice Wahome, and I have a lot of respect for her, you know, as a senior lawyer, and having been in Parliament for many years, and now a minister. She was standing before the houses which were built by Uhuru Kenyatta. I can assure you, although those houses are next to a slum, nobody from that slum will occupy those houses at all. And in Eldoret, I saw some progress, and the contractor there and the people seems to be doing well. But that's not the case in Busia. The case in Busia is they have hired young people, they have not paid them over a long time, and the project seems to be stalling. In Makueni, the president came there personally. After church service, he called the youth. He told them in 2 days the contractor will be on site. Actually, these are old government houses which are unfinished. And I had brought the matter in the National Assembly quite a number of times. And finally, there was an allocation and a plan. But after the president made a promise, asked, you know, Mama Huji and, you know, to come and cook for the workers, everybody who is a plumber, everybody who is in construction to be available. The young people showed up in huge numbers. For a week, there was no contractor. 2 weeks, no contractor. A year later, there is no contractor. And this is a word which came from the mouth of a president. Surely a president's word must have some value. It cannot be a joke. And therefore, later on, when people of Makueni followed up with the president and asked him, why did you not keep your promise, especially the clergy? He said, you know, Maanzo and Mutula did not want this. We have been asking for it daily. We want that housing project belonging to the government to be completed. In fact, it is even for government civil servants. Leave alone these commercial ones be done. For the houses be done, who is going to afford them? Who is going to buy them? They are called affordable. Okay. Who is going to buy them? No one is buying them. They are being built there. That's money held there. They are empty shells. The people who can buy these houses are just bourgeoisies in the country. And they are the ones colluding quietly and buy these houses and renting them to people. There is no single slum dweller. And I wish the government could get serious and copy the example of Rwanda, deal with Kibra. If you continue building a house, moving people into the houses, and even having them, that registration they are saying, in India they use like a cooperative, so that you have a way of slowly paying, and then we'll have a lot of land left in Kibra, everybody accommodated, and probably will do a university or several secondary schools there. Okay. So I believe the country and the government, the lying government, has failed Kenyans on this particular issue.
Senator Okech, coming to you, this is in relation to what happened on Monday during a conglomeration of Rigathi Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, and Kalonzo Musyoka, to which the Deputy President, Professor Abraham Kithure Kindiki, yesterday responded, saying, "Don't threaten us with one-term presidency." I saw some guys yesterday, he meant on Monday, saying how their singular motivation is to make William Ruto a one-term president. And then, how can you be motivated as a leader to remove someone from office? President Ruto, by the grace of God, is among the 5 Kenyans who have been privileged to occupy the highest office in the land. Was this the right response?
Response, whether right or wrong, is actually none of my business. Because sitting here as a younger generation, and you've seen my demeanor today, the demeanor of listening. And as a young person, I probably leave this studio very, very hopeless. I think that people like Manzo and people like my brother Ashi should retire from both political life and public comments.
Why do you say so?
Because it seems they have not understood where the country has come from, and they have not understood what contribution they are supposed to make vis-a-vis the contribution that other people have made. Because for you to sit as a young person and listen to Ashi calling Rigathi Gachagua a whistleblower on things that are happening in government, which he served and they happened under his watch. And then he louds that as something that is palatable and celebratory. And for you to listen to the tone of my good senator, Mahanzo, presenting things that are pure propaganda with no factual basis at all. No, can I just finish? Why are you so impatient when I was listening when you were talking?
Let him finish.
And then you see them choreograph it in a way that they want to put the pulse of the nation to a certain narrative that then is supposed to support or accept or celebrate what we just talked about, the alliances, if I may use that term, that are coming up. It's completely absurd. Because those alliances that we are seeing forming have been the very essence of our problem as a country. These alliances are formed without one, ideas. Ideas being principles and standards of governance that we can be able to celebrate as a country, and we can be able to keep ourselves to when we look outside the nation. And the second, there are alliances without ideology. And ideology being a system of ideas that can be able to make this country run economically and politically in a viable way.
So you mean the alliance, what we saw on Monday?
Yes, and that's what I'm telling you, that is what you can see the two gentlemen trying to channel the mind of the nation to accept that what is in government currently, which is the persona of Ruto, the president, and the arrangement that they have with the ODM, to be particular, which is actually not in government by any form of any writing. The reason why ODM tried to stabilize government is purely a security issue, that our country faces a national security threat that then had to be stabilized and give a country a chance. But that said,
how do you label, given that you have said that alliance is unhealthy for the country's democracy and stability, how then do you label, what code name will you give the Odinga-Ruto rapprochement?
The Odinga-Ruto rapprochement is not an alliance.
What is it?
It's seriously not an alliance.
What is it then?
It was an arrangement that was seeking to stabilize the government at that time to make sure that the country security infrastructure can hold.
What name would you give it?
I'll call it just that, a stabilizer.
The president says it's broad-based. Is it?
Broad-based is a language that the president has used in the context of him realizing that the coalition that he himself has been part of over the years have been tribal coalitions that don't take country anywhere, and has been vocal about it. He has said that he has realized that we've got tribal arrangements in this country that don't work, and there is need to be inclusion in different ways, in his own perception. On the idea of tribalism, I agree with him, because you can see what Mahanzo and Ashi are talking about and are supporting in these alliances. They are purely tribal. And if you go historically, I can take you even to the closest history. When you look at Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto alliance, they were alliances formed on the basis of tribe. And you can see what it ended up doing. There was no governance properly after those alliances, because they were not ideologically put together. When you look at the alliance between Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, these were two people who barely even knew each other in terms of any ideology.
So what about the alliances between Odinga and Kalonzo in 2013?
I'm coming to that. Because
if you absolve the ODM party leader from the question, then it becomes very difficult to have, objectively, because it's part of the wholesale political failure as to why the country is here.
I'm coming to that, and I'm going to tell you why I strongly believe that ODM is the only party that has sustained not being in a tribal alliance that is ideologically not based, and number two, has sustained being able to stand alone even in 2027. I can tell you for a fact that ODM must and will front up a presidential candidate, because it's the only party that has actually been able to stay out of tribal ideologies, out of tribal orientations, which we are seeing with people like Rigathi. What is there between Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, and Rigathi Gachagua? If you look at it principally, if you look at it ideologically, they don't share any ideology.
Hang on, Senator. Yes. I'll come to Charles next, because you guys had your time.
Yes.
what then is the ideology that glues together the president and the former prime minister? Distinctly on opposite sides. In the referendum in 2010, Ruto said no, Odinga said yes with Kibaki.
Yes.
In 2013, they were on the opposite side.
Yes.
I mean, how then do you qualify the detente and the relationship between the president and the former prime minister, if you are basing the others on ideology and the tribal?
Yes.
Isn't this also an ethno-majoritarian drive towards certain political goals?
Number one, you must actually look at it from the perspective that ODM as a party has no any alliance basis with the Kenya Kwanza. There is no any alliance basis.
How do you then qualify? And number two, how do you qualify what then happened in the post June 25th?
Post June 25th. But that's what I've told you, a number without time and time without number. That where we found ourselves as a country in June 2025 and days proceeding, we found ourselves where it was either the government collapses and then you remain with a country whereby if Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, which I think they would all have left, sincerely, if they all left, then you have got a vacuum that you've got almost 100 permutations that you cannot be able to take control over. You can have the military take over, and when the military takes over, you can have a smooth military, or you can have military fighting among themselves. You can have a speaker who could take over for 90 days. You don't have IBC in place. I mean, the permutations were just murky that you cannot be able to help. And then number two, the big issue of incompetence at that time, which was brought by this idea of coalitions that don't have basis, where Ruto ended up with a very incompetent deputy president. That incompetency is an issue that ought to have been addressed to stabilize the government.
But the point is that, yes, the point is, if we talk about incompetence, before you go to Charles, to spend some time on you.
Yes.
Why did the president then appoint an incompetent cabinet in your view?
That is up to him. But
you have a problem when you have a problem when he picked Gachagua as his running mate.
Yes.
But you have no problem when he picked an incompetent cabinet.
I had a problem. I pronounced myself.
Why then lay over your accusation wholesomely because you are playing the man and not the ball? It's insincere to play only Rigathi Gachagua when there has been a full pot of incompetent people.
Yes.
That the head of state himself admitted on the 2nd of August 2023 that my cabinet is incompetent. I know more than some of you, CSS.
I love this, and you will agree with me that the Gen Z movement and all the people who complained during the entire last year, whether it was experts like him, talked about this serious incompetence. And the president, that's what the Swahili people say. The president himself collapsed that cabinet, which allowed for some people who are, competent enough.
Okay, we'll talk about the people who are picked.
Look at somebody like Oparanya.
Okay.
If you compare the work that Oparanya did when he was a minister, the work that Oparanya did when he was a governor, he joined government not as an ODM person, but in his own individual capacity.
Okay, I get your point. Yes,
and the president is still, struggling with this idea of trying to get as many people who are competent enough in government.
Okay.
But the point is, these coalitions that we are seeing forming right now are tribally charged, baseless, no ideologies, and it is something that we cannot allow to continue.
Yes,
okay. Thank you so much.